Thank you very much. Richard, thank you for your slides because it ties in quite nicely to what I'm about to talk about. Does anybody know Henley and Partners? Just a brief, quick show of hands who know Henley and Partners. Wow, okay. That's my entire business development team sacked in the morning. I'll do a little bit to explain who we are. We're going to have a little bit of a spotlight on the investment migration sector, global wealth migration trends, and then because we're in the UK, it's only fair to talk about the UK and what we're seeing here, but I am going to add a bit about the US also. So, Henley and Partners, we are the global leaders in citizenship and residency planning. What does that mean in simple layman's terms? It means Mr. High Net Worth individual wants another residence or citizenship, and he can do so by making an investment in said government's jurisdiction. So we have 70 offices across the globe. We are approaching 30 years old. We have 60 residence and citizenship programs available, and we've advised 25,000 high net worth individuals over the years. We've also advised 20 governments on setting up their own actual programs, and this has raised 15 billion in FDI. Here are the locations of our offices. The important one here and the best one is that one, the one that I look after in London. But we have opened up 8 offices in the last 3 years and hired some 40 staff to cater for the demand for what we do from the US, and we will come to that shortly. But we are completely covered across the globe. So we help high net worth individuals and entrepreneurs to acquire one or more residences and citizenships. And our world and your world are very closely knit. So our clients are your clients, our intermediaries are your intermediaries. And we have seen a lot of crossover in terms of referrals from both worlds over the years. And as mentioned, we've worked with governments in setting up and implementing their own programs. These are the programs of choice. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have some 60 plus programs. The ones of interest for you guys are probably the European residence programs, because that is where the vast majority of the American wealth is going. And for the UK clients, they are going to the UAE. Now, all of the information you're about to see was collated over the last few years, and it was prior to this weekend. So please do bear that in mind. It's been a quite lively weekend in terms of political and global relations. The Caribbean programs are programs of interest for people who want another citizenship. And in terms of linking these two worlds, you can now use your yacht as a way of obtaining another residence, which I will come to shortly as well. So the investment migration sector as a whole is a $22 billion business. Over 100 over 100 countries across the world offer some sort of residence or citizenship program, and we deal with about 60 of them. We deal with the popular ones, the ones that add value, the ones that make sense for our clients, and the ones that are commercially viable as well. All 19 of the sovereign countries in the G20 offer a mechanism to encourage inward investment in exchange for residence rights, and that's something to bear in mind as we look at the next few slides. So this is the important part. Where is wealth going? How is it going? And how much of it is going? So if we go back, where are we now? We're 2026, but 2025, there was a prediction of 142,000 millionaires moving to another jurisdiction. Go back 10 years, that number has almost trebled, which is quite incredible, and it shows that wealth is becoming more mobile. There was a bit of a dip there, as we saw with Richard's slides as well, during COVID, but I was panicking thinking COVID would end our business, but in fact it really did make people sit up and think about what their options are. I've just ruined the next slide and joke. I was going to ask you, who do you think, in terms of jurisdictions, has obtained the most millionaires and billionaires over the last year? No point in asking for their guess, because I've just shown you. It is the UAE. As I said, and we'll go back to it, this was all done prior to this weekend. Interestingly, those top 10 countries, so this is net, let me explain it a little bit further actually. This is net inflows. So we all know that millionaires are going to countries and millionaires are leaving certain countries. This is the net. And that we've tended to stay away from figures and facts, figures at the moment and concentrating on the facts. But to put it into perspective, the UAE has a net positive of around 10,000 millionaires and billionaires over the last year. Puts it ahead of US. For the first time ever, someone has overtaken the US. I won't ruin the next one. Which country do you think has lost the most millionaires and billionaires over the UK? Sir? Sorry? The United Kingdom. Anyone else want to have a guess? Correct. The UK. As a proud Brit, slightly upsetting. But the way that the world is, it's understandable also. So the UK, we have done this over the last 4 or 5 years. We have predicted that the UK would lose 1,500 in 4 years ago, 3,500 3 years ago, 9,500 the year before, and last year we predicted 16,500 net loss of millionaires. I'm not allowed to speak about the figures that we're predicting for this year because we have a couple of months of data still to collate, but it's not looking positive. As I mentioned, all of the top 10 countries for net inflows have an investment migration program. The most popular, as we've seen, especially for my office, which is, as I mentioned, the most important office at Henley & Partners, my office has seen the biggest uptake of our services from British millionaires and billionaires than we ever have, and the most popular program has been the UAE. The UAE is very keen to attract wealth. They are going around the country, they're going around the planet, in fact, hosting events, attracting the wealthy and the elite. The issue we have in the UK is that we are not doing that, and we also don't have the mechanism to get them into the UK. The investor visa has not existed for 3.5 years. But the UAE are even thinking of ways on how to attract the high net worth individuals of this planet. And that has included, launched last year, I'm sure you all know this, given the world that you work in, but last year they launched the ability to obtain a 10-year golden visa by using your 40-meter plus yacht and housing it in the UAE. So they are thinking of ways on how to attract the wealthy and the elite. So Mr. American billionaire, Mr. UK billionaire who is nervous of what's going on in his jurisdiction, he goes and puts his yacht in Yas Marina or Dubai Marina, and he can get himself a 10-year visa, allowing him to spend as much time in that jurisdiction as he wishes. If he spends significant time there, at least 6 months of the year, he becomes tax resident there, saves himself millions, if not more. So we've discussed what's happening. So where is the wealth at the moment? And this goes back to Richard's slides. As you can see there, we have some different brackets: $1 million worth, $100 million worth, $1 billion worth. The US has 6 million millionaires, 9 times as much as the next highest country, which is China. The UK remains there, but if we continue to see the stats that we've just explored, we might not be there for very long. If you can see there on the far right-hand side, millionaire growth over the last 10 years, the UK is the only country of the W10, the world's wealthiest 10 countries, that has a negative growth of 9%. Again, incredible. As you would expect, though, in terms of the rest of the countries, Australia, France, Switzerland, Canada, Japan, Germany, China, this is where the wealth is. But the US, if you're wanting to go and sell yachts, if you're wanting to do business in that world, the US is still the place to be. Again, you'll sense a trend here. These, again, if you look at those wealth brackets at the top, the world population of millionaires is 17 million. There's roughly 17 million millionaires on the planet. A third of them are in the US. If we go a couple along, anyone with worth 30 million or more, there's 250,000 of those on the planet. A third of them, again, roughly in the US. And people worth 100 millionaires, or what we like to call centimillionaires, there's 30,000 of them, 10,000 of them in the US. We can start to see the trends. So that's where the wealth is. This is slightly too small, but the headlines are the same. 11 cities in the top 50 in terms of the richest cities on the planet. Dubai, the biggest climber, again, please remember, this was done before the weekend. It's jumped from 21st to 18th in terms of the wealthiest cities on the planet. Seoul is the biggest faller, from 19th to 24th, and Lisbon has moved up into the top 50, and that will link again to the fact that there are lots of people moving to Portugal or obtaining Portugal residency via our world. The fastest growing wealth hubs. Shenzhen in China has 50,000 millionaires. Scottsdale, West Palm Beach, the Bay Area, Miami, Washington, Austin. Again, you can see the trends. The US leading the way in terms of wealth. One more stat to add to that. This is where this is guys with worth 100 million or more. There's 818 of them in the New York area. There's 756 in the Bay Area. London is in the top 5, but again, being caught quite quickly by other jurisdictions. But again, you can see the trends, right? The US is where the wealth is. Forecast. We like to predict at Henley & Partners. We like to have a guess and see what goes on. The UAE is predicted to double its centimillionaire population in the next decade. If you think about that, so at the moment they stand at 237 centimillionaires, the guys with 100 million or more. We're expecting that to double. If we just pretend that this weekend didn't happen, we're expecting that to double over the next decade. Milan, again, extremely popular with wealthy individuals. Lots of British clients going to Milan under the flat rate tax and investing in Milan. The rest is as you would imagine. I'll read this out because I think it sounds quite good. The world's centimillionaires are increasingly designing their geographical footprints with the same strategic care they apply to their investment portfolios. Diversification and optionality is key. Diversifying their presence across multiple jurisdictions to mitigate risk while maximizing opportunity. The cities that offer residence and citizenship by investment programs that we've discussed are seeing at least 100% growth in centimillionaire forecasts. And nations that provide investment migration pathways backed by strong governance, economic freedom, and world-class infrastructure will continue to attract the elite wealth creators who shape industries and economies. As we're in the UK, I thought it important to just focus a little bit on that. We're going back to last year's figures. We saw inquiries into our services by British millionaires and billionaires increased by 25% and applications by 12% compared to the previous year. In no particular order, the programs of interest to them are Portugal, Grenada, UAE, Italy. And again, the inquiries follow similar suit. If we look at the US, now what are the US clients doing? November 2024, when Mr. Trump was announced, we saw a 600 and something % spike in interest in our services. We did some interesting mapping of where those inquiries were coming from. And if you looked at the voting map, all the states that would voted blue, that's where the inquiries were coming from. So what are they doing? My office does 15, 20 applications a month. The US offices are doing 90. And there are lots of US clients leaving, but there are also lots of clients hedging their bets. They're getting another residence, they're getting another citizenship. And this boils back down to what I said right at the start. They are obtaining European residence programs. They're investing in Europe, they're hedging their bets, they're planning for what we might have seen over the last weekend, and they are planning their escape route, and some of them are even going and leaving the actual state as we speak. In summary, it's no surprise that the wealth is in the US, but it is changing. As we have seen, people are becoming globally mobile, people are hedging their bets, people are putting their money into other jurisdictions as a way of optionality. It remains quite clear that the super yacht world is best served in the US, and backing up what Richard said, we see that the same also. However, I think it's very important for you guys to be as upwardly mobile as our clients are becoming, because that is what the high net worth individuals are looking for. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stuart. Do we have any questions for Stuart from the floor or via Slido? You can see that one. If we see people leaving Dubai, Middle East because of Iran conflict, where do you see them going?
So let's sort of take it back a little bit. I am a British passport holder. I've lived in Britain. Can people hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm a British passport holder. I've lived in the UK my entire life. Where can, if the proverbial was to hit the fan in the UK tomorrow, where could I go? Not many places. Now that Brexit has happened, we're not part of the EU. We don't have the provisions to go and live anywhere else, and it all depends on the people who have gone to Dubai. Let's say Mr. British high net worth individual has gone to Dubai. He will have obtained himself a residence permit of some sort. Obviously, people can go and get jobs, or they can marry to go into other jurisdictions, but our world is by investment. So people make an investment into the jurisdiction, and then they get an investor visa of some sort. It depends on where that person now has his original residency or citizenship. Obviously, it's important to understand that citizenship and residency are two different things. I am a British citizen as I have a passport, and a passport affords me all the rights of living here. But if I had a residency somewhere else, all it will allow me to do is go and reside. So it all boils down, and this is why people come to us, this is why people use our services, because they want optionality, they want that plan B alternative, they want that what if. So they will obtain another residency or citizenship, giving them that ability to live elsewhere. At the moment, it's only 2 to 3 days old, so we haven't actually seen anyone leaving, but I would absolutely imagine that there will be people leaving, and they'll probably be going back to their original country of origin, unless they have another residence or citizenship available. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck. And this is where high net worth individuals lead the way, is because they are the people who are usually firstly aware of the potential issues. They become aware of protecting their assets and their wealth. And they have the means to do a residence or citizenship by investment program.
Thanks. Probably should get my own mic, shouldn't I? Do we have any more questions? Here we go. Stuart, do you want to take any of these ones just quickly? Just run through a couple of those.
Let's do these quite quickly. How attractive is the Cyprus residence program compared to other EU programs? Not quite as attractive because it's not Schengen, but still very attractive. Well, lots of people, when the non-dom rules changed, came in to see us and decided that Cyprus was their program of choice. It's quite a cost-effective program when you look at the similarly placed programs. Any comments on the last changing rules of the UK non-doms? I'm not allowed to talk about tax. I will be shot the moment I leave this place if I talk about tax. However, the non-dom changes were very good news for us. We never pray for instability, but we saw a lot of interest in our services for people who were thinking, right, I'm now going to leave the UK. Does Montenegro still have a scheme? It has a resident scheme. It doesn't have a citizenship scheme. So the resident scheme is well and truly there. They've closed down their citizenship program, but absolutely, if you want to speak to us about Montenegro, we can absolutely help. With the UK and the number of wealthy individuals have left, have they actually physically left, or are they placing their money in another country? Very good question. So historically, if we dealt, let's say for ease of numbers, let's say we dealt with 1,000 applications a year, how many of those applicants would actually relocate? Less than 10%. Last year, that very much changed, especially from my office. So the London office, we're dealing predominantly with Brits. They are 100% relocating. The clients that we're servicing are coming to us and saying, I want to be gone. How quickly they can go and how quickly they can prove to the UK tax authorities that they have gone is open for debate. But yes, they are doing this to relocate, and we've seen a big increase in the people relocating. What are the other drivers beyond tax optimization? I didn't quite see the end of that. Tax is the biggest driver. There's no two ways around it. People come to us and say, I've started earning a lot more money, or I'm now expecting this big financial event, I'm selling a business, whatever. I believe we're paying far too much tax. I want to go to a jurisdiction where I pay less tax, and we are absolutely obliged to help them do that. We don't necessarily like it, but of course other jurisdictions offer more favourable tax regimes than we do. It's quite simple. And I think I should probably be quiet now, should I not? Monaco doesn't seem to feature anymore. Is there a reason for this? Nick. Hi, Nick. Where are you? Hi, Nick. Monaco is absolutely of interest, still remains of interest. It's just that the program itself is on paper very easy. You invest $500,000 into a Monaco-based bank, if you can find a bank that will take as little as $500,000. And then you have to go and purchase or rent a property. And that's where it's a bit of a stumbling block, because the rents and the purchase prices of property in Monaco are so high that it often puts people off. If they are protecting large amounts of money, it's very much an option, and we still see quite a regular inflow to Monaco from the UK.
Beautiful. Okay.
There we go. Thank you very much, everybody.